Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, शांति लगाता है। प्रभु जी ध्यान नहीं लगा हुआ था।
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare भगवान की सत्य श्री रोणी प्रहलाद महाराज की जय गुरु श्री प्रभुपाद की संघ विष्णु प्रोग्राम की उपस्थित सभी गौर भक्त वृंद की पिता पिता गौर ब्रह्मानंदे
Hare Krishna. His Holiness Bhagu Swami Maharaj ki Jai. So as we all know, His Holiness Bhagu Maharaj is JPC and scholar of Sanskrit and Bengali, and translated several books into English. So today Maharaj is here for the Sunday Fest program. Maharaj travels all over the world in different countries, preaching about Srimad Bhagavatam and Bhagavad Gita and other literatures. So today we have requested Maharaj to talk on a specific special topic of criticizing the deities or Sadhu Ninda. So please pay attention when Maharaj is speaking and avoid talking with each other during the class. Everybody can come a little bit forward so that the others can sit down without making noise. Thank you, Hare Krishna.
Krishna. Namah Vishnu Padaya Krishna Vastai Bhutale Shmate Bhaktivedanta Swami Niti Namane Namaste Saraswata Devi Gauravani Prachadane Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarane Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhar Shiva Sri Gaur Bhaktarinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Do we need translation? Huh?
Some Japanese are online.
Okay. So who's translating?
No, English we will do. English.
There's only English. Okay. So here we have in our temple, we have Radha Krishna, Gaurnitai, and Jagannath Baladev, Subhadra, the deities. These are forms of the Supreme Lord. And people come and worship these deities. So those people who select the deity of Krishna or Lord Chaitanya and worship it, they are called devotees. And they are performing bhakti or devotional service. when we read the scriptures, then it says, this is very good. You should perform bhakti. But then they give a warning. You have to avoid the aparads, particularly the nam-aparads. Now that means, aparad means offenses. So this is, we have to avoid these negative things, aparads or offenses. So generally we concentrate on the positive activities like kirtan, hearing scripture, worshipping Krishna, etc. But at the same time, there are certain activities which are very unfavorable for bhakti. And some activities are most unfavorable for bhakti, and they may destroy bhakti. So these are called the nam-aparads, or offenses against the holy name. I heard a few weeks ago some devotees got initiation, and the guru asked them, what are the nam-aparads? And they didn't know what the aparads were. So if you don't know what is dangerous and you can't avoid it, then your bhakti is in problem. So every devotee should understand what is aparad, what is actually nam-aparad. There are other aparads, but the nam-aparads are considered to be the serious aparads or offenses. Among them, we have the first aparad called sadhu, literally sadhu ninda. I don't think it's working. Criticizing the devotee. It's not working. Hare Krishna. Yeah, Hare Krishna. So it's called sadhu ninda, literally criticizing the devotee. Of course, criticizing means verbal, but not necessarily verbal. Any negative feelings or negative actions to the devotee is the first nam-aparad. Here we see a mad elephant on top there. He's red with anger. So he's very angry. And what do angry elephants do? They destroy. As we see, this elephant is tipping over a vehicle. Sometimes we read in the newspaper, or even in Mayapur it happened, that elephant got angry and he killed the caretaker, or whatever. And the zoo sometimes, yes, the elephant becomes angry at the somebody there and he kills them, smashes them. Well, it's not difficult for the elephant because he's so big. So he could crush somebody or put him in his trunk and throw him on the ground or sit on him or whatever. So the Lord Chaitanya has compared the offense against the devotee as equivalent to a mad elephant. Why? Because the mad elephant easily destroys. So you commit offense against the devotee, then your bhakti very easily gets destroyed. So as the elephant destroys a vehicle or a person, so sadhu ninda, or offending the devotee, destroys your bhakti. So that's why it's called mad elephant offense. So this is a very serious problem. Your bhakti gets destroyed. So that phrase sadhu ninda means criticizing a sadhu or a devotee. But the question comes, who is a devotee? Who is sadhu? So that word sadhu is very commonly used in India. But it can mean many different types of people. We have people walking down the street with red clothes on, but they're begging. So these are called sadhus. We have some people gathering at Kumbh Mela. They're all naked. And they're called sadhus. On the other hand, we have people living in their houses also, but they're worshiping Krishna. They're also called sadhus. So that word, of course, has a wide definition. But in the context we're talking about sadhu ninda in Vaishnav behavior, it means, sadhu means a devotee. And a devotee means one who is worshiping Vishnu or Krishna, or Rama or Nrsimha, Vaishnava. Still, even among worshippers of Krishna or Vishnu, there is variety. So some are worshiping purely Some are worshiping with mixture of material desires. Some are worshiping out of ignorance. They don't know why they're worshiping, but they just go to the temple every day and offer something, but they don't. You ask them why you go to the temple. I don't know. My parents told me, father told me to go every day, so I go every day, temple, and I offer flour. So this is worship, nice, but out of ignorance. We don't know really why we're doing this. Some people may go to the temple and they're worshiping. Why you go to the temple? Why? Because I'm praying to get some money. So I go to the temple. So this is very famous. We see there in South India, there's a very famous temple, this Balaji in Tirupati. Wealthiest temple in India. Where does the money come from? People are giving. Why do they give? Because they expect more back. So you give 1 lakh of rupees to Balaji, you expect 10 lakhs of rupee back. So expectation is money, not spiritual progress. So many, these are devotees of some sort because worship Vishnu, but this is not what we call pure bhakti. So we're not so much interested in such things. But anyway, they're all devotees of different sorts. So we have to distinguish. So ultimately, when we talk about devotees and give a definition, there are many different qualities in a devotee, good qualities. But the main quality is surrender to Krishna. Surrender with no material desires. We just offer ourselves to Krishna. So that's the central quality of a devotee. And he may have other nice qualities. He may have all the other qualities, but if no surrender to Krishna, then we don't call him a devotee. So this is what we have to look for. That surrender. So when we look at the devotee, we don't consider varna. Now traditionally in India, they want to give respect to the Brahmana, and less to the Kshatriya, less to the Vaishya, less to the Sudra, very little to the Chandala. But in terms of devotee, if one is surrendered to the Lord, it doesn't matter. He could be a Brahmana, could be a Chandala. But if he's surrendered to the Lord, he's the number one devotee. Same with ashrama. And generally people will say, okay, the sannyasi is the highest, so if you're a sannyasi devotee, you get worshipped. If you're a grihastha, you don't get worshipped. But we'll see in the story of Lord Chaitanya's life, Lord Chaitanya himself was a grihastha for many years. And most of Lord Chaitanya's associates were also grihasthas, and they never took sannyas at all. In fact, in Lord Chaitanya's movement, there were only 10 sannyasis and Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Every thousands of great devotees, all grihasthas. So the ashram is not so important. It's your surrender to Krishna. Age also not important. The devotee may be young, the devotee may be old. Generally, of course, in India, they see an old man with gray hair and a big beard, and they think he's a great devotee. You see some young boy, then okay, we don't really care so much. So age, they, of course, respect. But that's probably true. The older you get, the more bhakti you should do, so the more advanced you should become. But then we will also see opposite examples. Dhruva was a great devotee when he was 5 years old. Prahlad was a great devotee when he was 5 years old. Sukadeva Goswami was 16 years old, whatever. And he was recited Bhagavatam. So age, we don't consider age also. We have to see the surrender to Krishna. Strength and beauty, etc., bodily, whatever, we don't also consider. Wealth also we don't consider. Could be the poorest person. No money at all, but he could be the greatest devotee. On the other hand, he could be very wealthy. Dhruva ruled the world. Yudhishthira ruled the world. Ambarish ruled the world. They had all the money in the world, but they were also great devotees. On the other hand, some would have nothing, but they can be the greatest devotee. A devotee may have many followers, and then we think, oh, he's a great guru because he has so many followers. He may be, but he may not be. Could be a bogus guru. They have a lot of followers because they get material benefits. So he may not be a great devotee as such. So we should not see these things in relation to devotee. The devotee, of course, practicing by the process of bhakti should destroy sin and faults. So all devotees start devotional service and a little bit of bhakti, and they do have faults. As they practice bhakti, the faults should reduce and become less and less and less. The faults will only become zero when you attain prema. And attaining prema is very rare. So most of the devotees are not having prema. They're going to have some faults. They may have great bhakti, but a little bit of fault is going to be there. Huh? So we should not criticize the devotee because they do have some faults. Because we realize that eventually through the process of bhakti, the faults will disappear. Of course, the devotee has to be careful. Those faults may increase suddenly and cause very great danger for the devotee. So we have to be aware of that also. But anyway, if the devotee shows some small fault, it doesn't increase, then we should not criticize for that. Because we understand it will eventually disappear. Yeah. So as I said, the main quality of a devotee is he surrenders to Krishna. And the more he surrenders to Krishna, the more he appreciates devotees. So therefore he doesn't criticize devotees. He values devotees. Surrender to Krishna means he's practicing bhakti. He's practicing bhakti. He associates with devotees rather than criticize them. So why is this offense so serious? Why is it the mad elephant? Why does it destroy bhakti? And the reason is that devotees are the cause of faith and the cause of bhakti. If there is no devotees, there's going to be no bhakti in the world. So if anyone here has bhakti, it's because of another devotee in this life or previous life. So therefore, devotee is the cause of bhakti. And thus, it is very important that we always associate with devotees, respect devotees, and serve devotees. This is the cause of our advancement. So, in other words, serving and respecting devotees is a type of devotional service which helps us develop the creeper of bhakti. So, here we have a picture of Krishna. And we have a guru. May not be a guru, just a devotee, preacher of sorts. May not be 100% perfect. He doesn't have prema. But at least he is steady in his devotional service and he's preaching about Krishna to others. So, that devotee has the mercy of Krishna. He has some of the Shakti given by Krishna, the Bhakti Shakti. He's a devotee, so he must have some devotion. Where does the devotion come from? Ultimately, Krishna. Krishna is the source of bhakti. So the devotee has a little bit of that Shakti. So then he can impart that to other people and inspire them, and they can start to grow bhakti also. So the devotee is a transmitter of Krishna's energy to another devotee. So if that devotee is not there, how do we get the bhakti? Devotee, very, very important. So if you offend that devotee, how do you get mercy? How do you get bhakti? So respecting these devotees is very, very important for us. And to start criticizing or offending them, then it becomes a problem. We lose our link to Krishna and bhakti. So what type of ninda? We can criticize a devotee because he had low birth. We're looking at his varna or his ashram or whatever. We can criticize because previous sins in this lifetime. Sometimes we had devotees who were in jail. They were prisoners. They got out of jail, became devotees. So he was a prisoner, so we don't think he's a very good devotee or whatever. No, we can't look at previous life. Jagat and Madhava were great sinners. They became great devotees of Lord Chaitanya. We don't look at their previous life. We see them as devotees. So we can't criticize previous sins. There may be traces of previous sinful life continuing even now. Still, we should not criticize because we know that the influence will disappear. And they may also commit a sinful activity. Even then, if they continue the devotional service and don't continually sin, then we also do not criticize. Huh? So, of course, Krishna himself says this in Bhagavad Gita. Even if you're the most sinful activity, I still consider you my devotee. And our commentator Vishnu Chakravarti says, yes, he may commit a very great sin, but if he's a devotee, has been a devotee, and continues his devotional service, and doesn't commit the sin again, Krishna respects him as a devotee, and doesn't expect anything else of him except to continue his bhakti. So if Krishna respects him, we should also respect him. Huh? So this is how we have to treat the devotee. Okay, that's from the Bhagavad. So, what is the cause? Why will a person, devotee, start criticizing or offending devotees? The main reason is association with people who like to criticize devotees, criticize Krishna, etc. So if we associate with these people, then we're going to pick up the same attitude. Who is the asat sangha? Who are these people? They may be sinful people. They may associate with women outside of marriage. People who are loose in conduct. You associate with those people, they criticize everybody. So you also criticize everybody, including devotees. Bhaktivinoda Thakur says, even if in marriage, but the wife is controlling the husband, that is also bad. That's also asat sangha. So therefore you have to avoid that man because he's controlled by his wife. Okay. And of course, if you associate with the persons associated with women, etc., bad. If you have yourself illicit connections with women, that's bad association. And we have, of course, associated with impersonalists, Mayavadis, etc. That's bad association. And these persons may criticize devotees, and then we'll start criticizing devotees also. There may be pretenders, people who are acting like devotees, but real or not devotees, so they like to criticize everybody. We have atheists. You associate with atheists. Atheists will also criticize devotees. You may associate with those who are dedicated to Devata worship. So they will also say, why are you only worshiping Krishna? You should worship, Indra and Ganesh and so many others as well. So if you associate closely with these people, you are bound to start criticizing even devotees. So we have to avoid asat sangha. So that association is very powerful influence. The counter association is association with devotees. The bad one is asat sangha. Either association influences us. We associate with devotees, we become devotional. We associate with non-devotees, we become non-devotional. Simple. So Rupa Goswami gives an example. A person is like, a devotee is like a spatika. So everyone knows spatika. Yeah? It's a crystal. And what color is it? Transparent, no color. But if you put the spatika near a pink object, it will look pink. You put it near a red rose, it'll look red. You put it near a black object, looks black. Put it near a blue object, looks blue. So in other words, a spatika tends to pick up color of what it's close to. So people are like spatikas. The person goes near a sinful person, tends to pick up sin. Comes near an atheist, tends to become atheistic. Associates closely with a sinful person, becomes sinful. Comes close to a person who criticizes, he also begins to criticize. Associates closely with devotees, becomes devotional. So which means we have to be very careful who we associate with. Very, very careful. Otherwise we pick up all qualities of all sorts of people So we have to decide who's a good person to associate with. Who is a good person to associate? This is going to help our devotion, not reduce our devotion. So we have to be very intelligent. Choose our association very closely. Yeah. Among devotees, we have different types. So in Bhagavatam, there is the Kanishta devotee, which means the little devotee, the inferior, low devotee, or we could say beginning devotee. They do not associate with devotees. They do not appreciate. They associate with non-devotees. So not very good at all. Their bhakti is not very pure. They don't have proper knowledge. We have many books. Prabhupada wrote Bhagavad Gita commentary, Bhagavatam commentary, Chaitanya Chaitanya commentary. That's knowledge. They don't know any of that. They may say, I'm a devotee, and they're worshiping Krishna or whatever, but no knowledge at all why they're worshiping Krishna. They don't know what is pure bhakti or impure bhakti. They're kind of a devotee because they worship the Lord, but they have no knowledge, may have offensive mentality against devotees, etc. So not so good a person. However, we have the Madhyama, next level. So this is where most of the devotees will be placed. In ISKCON at least. So if you're in ISKCON, then you get all these books, and you have to read all these books, read Bhagavad Gita, etc. And even if you don't read it fully, you read a few pages, then you understand, okay, Krishna's Supreme Lord, Devatas are different. We have to worship Krishna not because we want money, but because we want pure bhakti, because we want prema. We learn so many things. So the Madhyama devotee gets proper knowledge and associates with devotees and avoids non-devotees. So in other words, association, through the association, he elevates very easily. Performs pure bhakti, not materialistic or mixed bhakti, chants the name purely. And he avoids aparads and offending devotees. Associates with devotees, so obviously he's going to avoid offending devotees. This devotee is an actual devotee. And it's this devotee who will teach the Kanishta and raise him up. Give him knowledge so he can become a Madhyama also. So this is the preacher. This Kanishta is the one who doesn't know anything. So he may have a little faith in the Lord, but it's maybe mixed or whatever. It is the Madhyama. He is the means by which a person becomes a devotee and practices pure bhakti. So this devotee we have to give great respect to, and we cannot offend. He may not be on the highest level, but he is got some Shakti from Krishna, and he's delivering that to other people. So very important. He can influence people to come to the process of devotional service. So this devotee is friendly with other devotees. He doesn't offend them. He exchanges very nicely with them. He gives service to superior devotees. He gives mercy to the lower devotees, the Kanishtas, and he avoids the non-devotees. So basically, he's associating and honoring the devotees in different ways. So this is the method by which he can advance in devotional service. Higher than the Madhyama is the Uttama. This is a person who has bhava or prema. And they see Krishna everywhere. This is the best devotee. Unfortunately, these people are very rare. And generally, they don't preach. And we don't see them. Because they're not interested in the material world at all. They're absorbed in Krishna's pastime somewhere. And they see everybody as a servant of Krishna in Krishna's pastimes, so there's no necessity for preaching. That is how they think. So they are on the highest level, no aparads, they're always chanting Krishna's name, They don't distinguish devotee from non-devotee because everybody's a devotee of Krishna to them. So they don't really preach. So the main preachers, the visible devotees in this world, are going to be the Madhyamas. Huh? Yeah. So, therefore, we have to give respect to these Madhyama devotees, even though they're not on the highest level, even though they may have faults or whatever. We have to give proper respect, because they are the medium by which we can get to devotional service in advance. And if we offend these devotees, Krishna takes the offense personally. If we offend these devotees, we stop the line by which we get the mercy. And therefore we have to avoid this offense. So if we commit this offense, then which can destroy our bhakti, then we have to do something. Now, of course, we shouldn't commit the offense. If we commit the offense intentionally, it becomes very serious for our bhakti. It's the mad elephant. It can destroy your bhakti. So we have to be very, very careful. So if we do, unfortunately, commit this aparad or offense, then we have to regret, sincerely regret that we've done so. This may only happen if we have proper understanding what the offenses are, criticizing the devotee for this and that, whatever. So we have to truly regret that this is a mistake on our part. Secondly, then we have to go to that devotee and beg for forgiveness. And hopefully that devotee will accept. If he doesn't, what can we do? All we can do is chant the holy name. But at least we've gone through the process. If we don't repent, very bad, then the effect of the aparad will happen, and our bhakti will get less and less and less and less. And we will lose a taste for chanting the name of Krishna. So our devotion is finished. We have to recognize. Then we also have to follow the step of asking for forgiveness. If we don't do that, still we're in the same position. So we can't make any excuse for that. We have to go to that second and apologize or whatever. Sometimes we may commit offense accidentally. We don't know. Somebody gets disturbed by what we do or say or whatever. That is not so serious. Still, because another devotee gets disturbed, it affects the bhakti a little. But the serious aparad is when intentionally, knowing a person, we start criticizing and whatever, or do some activity against them, or think badly of them, whatever, unnecessarily. So this is where the offense becomes serious, and it can damage our bhakti unless we recognize and go through this procedure. The point is sometimes raised that, well, we can take everybody very nicely and think of them nicely, and if we see all their faults, then we forgive them, whatever. But how can we forgive all the faults if they're disturbing and committing aparads against other people and doing whatever? So that's a different case. If a person has lots of faults and is causing lots of offenses, then we do have to take that seriously, because this person is disturbing the devotion of so many people. So in that case, we do have to do something to control that person for his own good. And to try to correct a person also is not an offense. We can do it in a proper way. But nevertheless, we can attempt to correct a person who's actually making an actual mistake or whatever. So we try to correct. So that's not offense also. So it all depends on our intention. If we have good intentions and somebody gets offended, not a problem. But on our part, where there is no problem at all actually, but we do start offending and find fault or whatever, that is where the offense starts and becomes very, very serious. So therefore, this is just one of the many offenses, but it's a very serious offense, and therefore it is called the mad elephant offense, because if it is not rectified, and it's done intentionally, then it begins to weaken and destroy our devotional service. And if our faith and bhakti and taste are destroyed, it's very difficult for us to start devotion again. So therefore we have to be careful. So this is one of the offenses among 10 offenses. So these 10 offenses are mentioned in the Padma Purana, but they have become quite famous, are mentioned by Lord Chaitanya and repeated often in our different scriptures. Bhaktivinoda Thakur has written a whole book, Harinam Chintamani, in which he explains each of these 10 offenses in detail. So we do have to be careful of these aparads in order to progress in our on the path of bhakti properly, progress in bhakti. If we commit the offenses, then our bhakti may stop and may start decreasing and may get destroyed. So we have to be very careful. And among all those offenses, this is one of the most serious of all. So we have to be very, very careful. Okay, any question?
Much like your holiness said, we have to be very careful with our association with non-devotees and people who are not. Where we draw the red line, because our process is to preach to everybody. So where we draw the red line, that where this line we should not cross.
Okay. Well, of course, we also have one of the offenses is don't preach to the faithless. So if you see a person is hopeless and full of sin and whatever, and all bad qualities, and a confirmed atheist or impersonalist, and you keep preaching to him, that's not good. So you have to use our intelligence to avoid certain types of people. Generally, we preach to persons who are called the innocent. These are the kanishtas. Okay, they're willing to worship the Lord, whatever, like that, some degree, whatever. Maybe mixed devotion or whatever, we don't know. But at least they have a little bit of inclination, so we can preach to them. And hopefully, by association, they'll begin to accept Scripture and whatever.
Regardless of what they are eating, Maharaj?
Yeah. Faith, we don't preach to the faithless, we preach to the faithful. So that faith or conviction that Krishna is supreme and I will worship him may arise in the most sinful person. So we see that there is prison worship in America, even in India. They go to the prisons, they are preaching to people, and people become devotees. Sometimes they're murderers. They killed somebody, and they become a devotee. But we can't say, well, we're not going to preach to you because you committed sinful activity. That means we can't even go to the jail at all. But actually, so many sinful people there, but some of them, they get some faith and they start hearing and they begin to practice and they chant 16 rounds and whatever. So we don't know how people start. But once they develop, of course, then they have to give up all their sinful activities.
How do you ask for forgiveness?
Uh-huh.
What is the process to ask for forgiveness?
Yeah, so generally, the person, you commit an offense and that person may become disturbed. Yeah? That you've done something to them like that. So you have to go there and you ask, okay, don't be disturbed with me anymore because I apologize and I repent for whatever. So please give up your disturbance or whatever and be kind to me, be merciful to me.
Sometimes, Maharaj, we see among devotees that some devotees are very, very, they don't want to take the apology. They just reject it. So how to counter that situation?
Okay. If someone doesn't accept an apology, then all we can do, that's of course our misfortune, and maybe that person's misfortune too. Generally, of course, a real devotee is unattached, so therefore he doesn't mind offenses anyway, so he's willing to forgive anybody. But if the person doesn't accept the apology or whatever, all we can do is very seriously, we follow the steps, and all we can do is seriously chant the holy name and continue our devotional service, and eventually that effect of the offense will disappear.
So Maharaj avoiding that devotee because in like a small environment we must be maybe doing services together.
Yeah.
So is it okay to avoid any kind of relationship or?
Yeah. If we have a fear we're going to commit the offense again, yeah, fine, we should avoid in that case.
Maharaj, how to understand the level of devotee?
How do we understand different levels? Um, if someone is at the very beginning of devotional service, it's very difficult. Now, if they've advanced to some degree and have some maturity, then they can begin to distinguish. So that's what we call the Madhyama, the Madhyama devotee. So we see the Madhyama devotee distinguishes who's a Kanishta, who's a Madhyama, and who's higher. So he preaches to the Kanishtas, he associates nicely with the Madhyamas, and he serves the superior devotees. That's also based on his distinction of who's more advanced, who's equal, who is less. So he has that ability to judge. Kanishtas obviously cannot, because they don't appreciate devotees at all. So they don't know who's a good devotee or bad devotee or anything. So one becomes a Madhyama, then he has to start making these distinctions. Yeah? So that's up to him. He has to get that knowledge somehow and be able to judge.
I have one question. So in a household, let's say you've got a husband and wife or a partner. One is a Madhyama, the other one is a Kanishta.
Oh.
Naturally, there is a conflict. How do you handle that?
So the Madhyama should preach to the Kanishta. The wife preaches to the husband preaches to the wife. At least they're both devotees, so that's good.
Because if both of them are Madhyamas, then there is no conflict.
Yeah.
Some are Kanishtas also.
Yeah. So the Madhyama has a responsibility to raise the Kanishta up to the Madhyama level.
Maharaj, throughout the lecture, the word avoid was used consistently. Avoid, like, the Madhyam Madhakari, avoid committing offenses. Um, so, will it be correct to say that, our mind has to be strengthened a bit because the mind tendency is, act like an animal by the instinct? So, this is how we can sort of practice on ourselves, like the thought to criticize someone comes. So, how do you keep your mind in a proper shape?
Yeah. Well, to begin devotional service seriously, to some degree, we have to have control of the senses. So in Bhagavatam it says that one begins bhakti with a taste for hearing the name and not too much material attachment. Huh? So in other words, obviously we can't be completely renounced in the beginning, but the enjoyment of the senses, etc., cannot be uncontrollable in the beginning. If it is, then it's very difficult to even begin devotional service. So we begin with faith and we begin the process of bhakti, and therefore we're expected to be able to follow some basic rules. Maybe not do it perfectly, but if we continue, then eventually we get those rules in place. So what this means is, through the process of bhakti, we get knowledge. With that knowledge, we learn we have to control our senses. And then we have to control as we progress to higher and higher degrees. So therefore, the more we progress, the more rules we have in terms of don't do this, avoid that, etc. So it's a matter of progression. In the beginning, we can't do too well. We get more knowledge, we progress in bhakti, then we can follow better. We get more progress, then we can follow better. So eventually we can follow nicely. If we come to the stage of nishta, that means that basically we follow all those things, and it's not too difficult. If we're at anartha nivritti, then it is a struggle sometimes. We cannot follow practically. But if we do bhakti and we increase the bhakti, the anarthas become weaker. And therefore it's easier to control the senses.
And sometimes Maharaj also, like
pride can come because someone can think like, oh, I'm doing the sadhana very nicely and this. So Krishna can also break this type of anartha by, making person to show that you are not able to follow by your will, but only by my strength.
Yeah. Well, of course, the devotee, we see in the beginning of Bhakti, Lord Chaitanya says, we should not, be too proud. We should be humbler than a blade of grass. So that is intrinsic to Bhakti. And if we start our devotional service with pride, that is a big anartha. And it's a problem to progress. Because if we have pride, it means actually we don't want to serve Krishna. And Bhakti means serving Krishna, so it's a contradiction. If we're trying to go to Krishna, we can't simultaneously go in the opposite direction. Yeah? So to some degree, we have to start pulling ourselves in the direction of Krishna and withdrawing from pride, anger, lust, greed, all these different things.
Also make balance between our material life and this spiritual life.
Yeah.
Yes, I have my own personal experience. Uh, in 2008, I was more associated with ISKCON, and 4 years I was continuing in ISKCON. I was doing 16 rounds of chanting. After that, I started my job, and now I am not doing a single round of chanting, and more towards my work, my business, all those kind of things.
Hmm.
So I become very occasional devotee. Sometimes just today I was thinking, no, no, I have to go because much pressure and such kind of thing.
Yeah.
But once I am finding myself in 2008, I was doing 16 round of chanting.
Yeah.
My some of friends became sannyasi.
Okay.
So still I am thinking how to go in that phase.
Yeah.
How to make a balance, I don't know.
Yeah. So people are at different levels. And Bhagavatam says we have to act according to qualification. Acting according to our qualification is a good quality. Not acting according to qualification is a bad quality. So we're at a certain level, and then we can only do certain much bhakti, and then we have these our material activities or whatever. We progress a little bit, then our qualification is more. We can do more bhakti, and then we get less interest in our material activity. We balance it out nicely. So it's according to our qualification, and we can't artificially jump up because generally we'll come back to the lower qualification eventually anyway. But wherever we are, then we try to advance from that stage gradually and adapt to that situation. And so wherever you are now, you try to add a little bhakti there and see how much you can do. And then over a few years, you try to increase. And obviously, when you get to 80 years old, you're going to have to give up all your job and your family and everything else anyway. You'll be forced to do that anyway. So you should be doing more bhakti as you get older and older and older. But it's according to your, level, natural level of qualification.
Hare Krishna, Maharaj, please accept my humble obeisances. I have one question. When Maharaj came sometimes while offering obeisances, we may unknowingly touch their slipper or even step over their side. In such situations, should this be considered an obeisance? So, how should we understand it, and what can we do unintentionally?
Okay.
Like,
Like we in the class, it was pointed like if we are doing some offense
Yeah.
unintentionally,
Yeah.
then the effect is less.
Yeah.
So Mataji, I think asking is how to avoid that also, like
Oh.
senior devotees, others like Maharaj,
Yeah.
and touching sleepers like Sado, and how to understand.
Unintentional offense?
Unintentionally.
Yeah. So unintentionally, of course, means that somebody will get disturbed by something we do, but we didn't intend to disturb them. So that's what it means. So in other words, we're not intentionally trying to disturb a person by criticizing them or doing something, putting obstacles in their way or whatever like that. So that is kind of unavoidable in the material world. People are bound to get disturbed by so many different things, and we can't really help it. We should just be careful as possible of what the aparadhs are And among devotees, we should be very careful. Try not to disturb anybody. Yeah? So in the Shashashika, Lord Chaitanya says that we try to give respect to all living entities. What to speak of devotees, even the dogs and the cats and the birds and the insects and whatever, we don't try to disturb them. So among devotees, we should try to give respect in all cases. Of course, some people may get disturbed accidentally by something we didn't intend. We can't do too much about that. But as much as possible with our knowledge, we should try to avoid.
Thank you, Maharaj.
So, is following one's karma, because as part of your karma, you have to do your daily activities, daily chores, etc., etc. Is that doing your karma well? Is that also bhakti?
Yeah. So following your karmas or duties is not bhakti. We follow our karmas. That is part of material world, and bhakti destroys karma. So we're doing certain activities because of certain attachments. First step to kind of counter the karma is to do karma yoga, in which we do our duties, but then we follow certain rules of dharma. That is called karma yoga. Still, that's not bhakti, but it's a step above just doing your activity according to your, past karmas or whatever. We regulate our karmas according to scripture. Yeah? So that's step number one. By doing that, we become purified. It's scriptural, it's established by the Lord, so it begins to purify us, and we get less material attachment as a result. We control our senses more. We avoid sinful activity. So it's good. It's a little progress. But it's not bhakti in itself. It doesn't create faith in the Lord or worship. So bhakti is, as I said, a spiritual Shakti of the Lord, independent of karma yoga, gyan yoga, stanga yoga, or sinful activity, whatever. And it is nirguna, beyond material world. So that can purify us in any case. So whatever activities you're doing, karma yoga or just karma or whatever, if you do bhakti yoga, that can destroy your karmas. It can destroy all of the sinful effects, all of the bad habits, and whatever like that. Through karma yoga, we can gradually purify. With bhakti yoga, we can destroy all the bad effects very, very quickly. So it's a different process, spiritual process. Whereas karma yoga and all that is a material process.
Maharaj, in the Asat Sangha, there was mention of don't associate with people who are having close connection with other women.
Yeah.
So other way around also correct, like Mataji should not associate.
Oh yeah. So women should also not associate with men or women having a bad association with other, loose connections or whatever like that.
So there is one point if the man is controlled by woman.
Yeah.
If we take other way around, woman is controlled by man.
Yeah.
Then what?
Yeah. Yeah. Well, traditionally in society, the man is superior to the woman, hopefully. And the wife listens to the husband. And traditionally, it's the man that's supposed to be the devotee. And so the husband says, become a devotee, then the wife listens and becomes a devotee. Of course, on the other hand, the man is a materialist, and so he makes his wife into a materialist. That's completely bad. But in general, within Dharma and Varnashram, then the man is the person who is responsible for implementing Dharma in the house, and the woman should follow. So the case where the man is under control of the woman, what that means is that he is not following Dharma, and he's trying to satisfy whatever his wife wants materially. So in other words, wife wants material benefits, and the husband simply agrees to give her everything material and enjoy in the material world. So in other words, becomes a materialist. So basically that's what, being under control of the woman means in that case. So a person who is in that position of being materialistic and whatever, then obviously we don't want to associate with that type of person. So we have the case where the woman is a devotee, the husband is not a devotee or whatever. Then that's a rather different position. Of course, because she is the wife, then she still has to be subservient to the husband. She cannot try to, order the husband, you have to become a devotee or whatever like that. But in her position as a devotee, then she can at least try to influence the husband as much as possible. Huh?
How about the
Everything changed.
Uh,
The rules of the power at home are changing.
yeah.
So if the wife is a devotee and the husband is not a devotee, then how do you maintain peace at home?
How do we maintain?
peace at home?
Uh, well, it depends on that combination. If the husband and wife agree, are cooperative, then the husband tolerates what the wife is doing and agrees, okay, you can be a devotee, I'm not a devotee, but I agree that, you can, to that extent, practice your devotional service. I don't mind. Huh? If, on the other hand, he gets a very controlling attitude, says you have to listen to me, you have to stay in the house, you can't go out, you can't do this and whatever, then, of course, it's not going to work.
And Maharaj, like Prabhuji and Mataji is doing service together,
Yeah,
not husband and wife.
yeah,
In temple, like
yeah,
somebody's husband, somebody. If they are doing service together,
yeah,
how to look at it?
yeah,
Because
yeah.
anybody can look at badly at that.
Yeah. So as much as possible, try to avoid. Yeah. Because there's always a possibility that associations can produce attraction. So it's not good. So as much as possible, avoid. Yeah. They can have separate services, separate places, or whatever, not together.
Who that Prabhuji or that Mataji has to understand this, right? I should avoid this.
Yeah.
But if they don't understand,
Then they can have problems.
somebody has to make them understand. Right?
Yeah,
This is
yeah,
wrong.
yeah. For their own good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And if they don't accept it, then
Yeah.
because why I'm asking, because
Yeah.
then Prabhuji or Mataji say, no, my intention is very pure.
Yeah, yeah, that's so. But then we see so many problems to result sometimes. Even if your intentions are pure, eventually, you develop attractions by association. As I said, you're like spatikas, get together, and then you start getting attractions. So you have to, limit to some degree.
Ramaj, is the devotee should be very vocal, or he can quietly follow his devotion service if a situation arises around his house,
Huh?
nobody is a devotee, but does he have to be very vocal or showing, or he can quietly follow whatever goes within himself?
Vocal about what?
Like that I am a devotee and you have everybody should appreciate what I am doing.
Oh no, well actually the devotee doesn't have any pride at all, so he doesn't and the best devotee is the one who's the humblest and doesn't think he's a devotee. So therefore we don't want to advertise ourselves as devotees. That's materialistic and it's against the idea of respecting all others and not respect for ourselves. So it's against Lord Chaitanya's teachings. Okay.
Hare Krishna. Thank you very much, Maharaj.